personally known for many years. She is a professional and one of the leading people of the disability sector in India. Welcome, Dr. Kaul.
Thank you, Jeeja. My privilege to be interviewed by you.
Dr. Kaul, I know you for many years, and we all know you are the parent who was motivated to start a service. What actually motivated you?
Well, my son Arjun, who you know well, did, and his friend Madhuri Kapoor. And then you came on the scene. We didn't have anything for children with disability, or spastics as they were called at that time. There were no schools for them because nobody actually ever believed that children who had cerebral palsy could actually study. So I just had this deep belief, which was proved right by all of you, that children can learn, all children can learn. And therefore, the first venture was a school.
I knew it what the attitude and the values you have faced.
Actually, the truth, Jeeja, is that we were so busy and so focused on what we wanted to do that we, perhaps in a sense, ignored all the attitude and the barriers. We just felt that we, when I say we, I mean my very dear friend Junie, Ghosh, who you know well, knew well. We just felt that we have to get the school going, and we just have to prove to people that we can set up a school where children with disability can learn. And therefore, if there were attitudinal barriers, and to be honest, I cannot in the early years remember an incident where there was a barrier to people coming and saying my child needs to learn, or my child can learn, or can my child be admitted to a school. And I think perhaps 40 years ago, because there was nothing in the city of Kolkata or the entire eastern region, people just jumped at the opportunity of having a place where their children could go to study. Also, Jeeja, if I might just add, we had no time to think about barriers. We just had to get the work done. So we just went ahead.
I know. You were so busy.
Yes.
All of us.
Yes. And actually all of you taught us and taught me a great deal.
As a parent, when you meet other parents, what was the general issue that concerned parents?
I think one of the main issues which concerned parents then, and I think continue to concern parents now, is what will happen to my child when I am no longer alive. Although we were all young parents and we were dealing with parents who had children who were as young as you were then, 6 years. But the fear was the future, not the present. And I think that fear still remains. I think we've gone through a process. We have found solutions to education, or we know the direction in which we are going, to vocational training, but we ourselves have not come to the last stage, assisted living, residential care. And so that concern remains, even now amongst parents. And with many of them was also the concern about acceptance. Acceptance of the child within the family and also within the community. And I don't think that's changed much. I don't know what you think about that.
You have worked with so many and also worked with parents. Did you feel there was a contradiction of our aspiration with our parents' aspiration?
Jeeja, you know, actually for me as a parent, all of you, my extended children, have actually taught me a great deal. And I think it's no different for people who have so-called normal children. Indians tend to actually protect their children, and even if they're in their 40s or 50s, there is still that attitude of protection. And I think with all of you, in the early years, we saw you as our children who we needed to teach and our children who we needed to give opportunities for learning, vocational training. And it's only been truthfully the last decade when all of you grew up and all of you took up positions of responsibility outside the organization and within it as you are doing now. You have all taught me definitely that I think we parents need to let go. And that recognition has really come from you. That recognition that you are people who adults who have a right to be on your own, independent. And as parents, we need to give you that opportunity. And I do know that there are many parents who, out of concern, out of fear, are still not perhaps ready to let their children go. So that dichotomy, that contradiction remains. And I think one of the things I've also learned during this process is that we can't be judgmental about people. All of us come from different backgrounds, different experiences. We have different mindsets. We've gone through different phases in our life. And sometimes I think we need to see all of us as people. We are now in a decade of where we're talking about rights of people with disability. But I think it's also important to remember that a parent or a family who has a child with disability is actually just a family. But just as you have always protested and said, don't label us, I have always said, don't label families. Don't say disabled mother, disabled family. We're people. And I think sometimes in the sector itself we forget all this.
I wonder, you said that parents do not want to let go. Related to this, how do parents recognize sexuality?
Oh, sexuality was something one wouldn't even think about discussing. I think because within our group of, your group of teachers, I don't know, I think perhaps you were a little more open-minded. I can't really recall when we actually started taking classes on sex education with any of you, or discussing with you the different concerns we have for you or for people with disability on this issue. I think when we got professionals from the social work field, we ourselves as a team became more aware of these issues. And perhaps I can say with confidence, Jeeja, that I think we've been very open-minded in our approach to learning ourselves and to teaching. So it's a very important issue which needs to be addressed at a much younger age. much younger age. Because as you yourself have seen professionally, it's so important to have support groups and counselors to help people deal with issues which are real, which can't be ignored.
I'm just diverting a bit from you. You just right from, and we all know about the new disability bill, which is trending, and you are very closely involved in the process. Can you share some of your experiences coming in the bill?
Well, I must say that the 3 years that I was involved in, and so were you at some stages, with drafting the disability bill, was again a learning experience. I came into this perhaps with a very naive outlook, and the belief that because all of us work within the sector, we would have common ideas to address the common issues that we were concerned about. But it came home to me after I had the opportunity of meeting people from across disability sector and across the country, from different socio-economic backgrounds, that issues actually were different, and that everybody had a right to voice their concerns. And out of the concerns and the debates, and some very heated debates and very politically heated debates, I think has emerged a robust bill where we have tried as far as possible, because it's a huge problem, to keep the aspirations of everybody. Well, everybody maybe is too big a word. As much as possible to keep the aspirations of people within the sector in the bill. The bill, I have been told as recently as yesterday, has gone to the cabinet now. So from my understanding, it's in the last stages before it's tabled in Parliament. So I really, really hope, because everybody in the sector, as you well know, was really involved with contributing to this bill, so I do hope it will happen sooner than later.
Linked to the bill. What are your ideas of legal capacity and independent living?
I'm of the view that when you say legal capacity, are you particularly talking about people with mental illness, or are you talking about across the board people who have cognitive delay?
The board.
I feel that again, as with so-called normal people, opportunities for exercising your independence and rights must be acknowledged within a framework of security and safety for that individual. I would say the same for myself or anyone else who is so-called normal. I think we have to keep a balance and not just say, look at this in terms of black and white.
Yes. But we are looking at the future and a contradiction between the activists and the parents group about this issue.
But I think in life, Jeeja, I don't think all issues can be resolved. And I think by actually my experience, my personal experience of IICP and all of you is, if you can demonstrate something working, people start believing. I think parents and the parent group who really protested against this are parents who are perhaps older parents, who didn't grow into this era of rights-based activism, or who feel more fearful of giving these opportunities to their children and others. But as a human being, I feel that everyone has a right. Everyone has a right, but rights for all of us, nothing to do with disability. And that's where I think we need to, I know we need to focus on disability in the bill because it is for people and protection of people with, rights of people with disability. But I think for all human beings, we need to learn from each other's experiences, and we need to be open-minded and have a more holistic approach to anything that we do.
How do you think we could often tell people with disability do not know their responsibility? How do you think we can address?
I firmly feel that people, parents like me, now need to take a back seat. And I think that the spokespeople for people with disability should be people with disability, who are the best advocates for demonstrating responsibility and advocacy together. And I think that the outside world will never understand and learn unless you are in the forefront. And I think more and more organizations such as our own must give this platform to youngsters like you to take this forward now. Because now the sector can actually learn from your own life experience. What we did in the beginning, we shared and talked to each other about our own life experiences, our children grew up, and we learned from that. But now the leaders are you. That's why I'm delighted you are interviewing me.
Sometimes even me, as a professional, we have some stereotype ideas. Being in the profession, we tend to believe but that sometimes doesn't match with the young idea. So what should we profession do to correct our we also need to look at ourselves?
I think, Jeeja, you actually answered your question by asking the question. I think as an advocate and one of the leading advocates in the field in the country, I think you have demonstrated on many an occasion on the importance of not looking at people as stereotypes, the importance of demonstrating and sharing responsibility along with advocacy. The very fact that we address an issue shows that we have a concern and we can do something about it. And to go back to your first question, by accepting that Arjun was different from others, I could move forward in doing something for children like Arjun and children like me too. And I think that's, I know you asked me were these barriers or not, and I think maybe within ourselves these are internal barriers which we as parents and as people, and it doesn't matter whether you're disabled or not, when we're faced with a problem I think we need to accept that we have a problem first before we can address it and move forward. So you've really answered your own question. A lot more frankness in debates is required, and I know that it's only in recent years that people with disability are getting a platform really to voice their opinions. But this is the right time for advocates like you to come forward, to talk about the importance of expressing your opinion, but what all of you together and all of us together can do. And I think, again, I firmly believe in teamwork. I firmly believe that in working together we can achieve, and really IICP is perhaps an example of this, because we worked as a team. And now recently, as you well know, we're sitting in Roshni, which is the Resource Center for Technology and Communication. All of you have come forward to be trainers, and you're training people in mainstream schools. And I have myself seen the response from mainstream school teachers and children in terms of learning and experiencing what it means to be disabled and what they can do and learn from that. So that's been a big, huge step. And I think professionals who are not disabled, appear not to be disabled, they may well be, need to actually acknowledge. You talk about parents giving up responsibility. I think professionals need to give responsibility and share responsibility with people with disability. Give them opportunities for training. You're the advocates. You're the future.
Thank you, Dr. Watt. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.